Hi friends, do you know, about 20 years back, in the year 2003, an American expedition team was charting the inner edges of the Mariana Trench using their robotic unmanned submersible vehicle named Global Challenger. On their expedition, they were hearing some strange, spooky sounds all of a sudden, and when they pulled it back up to the surface, they discovered that the heavy metal cables securing it to the ship had been cut in two, and half a side of the sub was crushed. But what sort of creature would cause such devastating damage so quickly? Well, according to some research, it would take a 20-meter-long megalodon shark, a fish that went extinct about 2 million years ago, to cause all this destruction. Surprisingly, during 1960, when explorers Don Walsh and Jacques Piccard undertook the first-ever trip to the Mariana Trench, the glass of their ship was reported to be broken, maybe due to the same beast. What do you think about it? The only way to find out is by going deep into today's fascinating video titled, What Scared the Expedition in the Mariana Trench? In 1972-1976, a British research vessel named HMS Challenger was measuring the depths of various ocean regions for research. Their method was simple. Drop a weighted rope into the sea and measure its length to know the depth. But something peculiar happened on one such measurement around the Mariana Islands, situated halfway between Japan and Australia. While getting their usual depth measurement, the crew realized their kilometer measuring rope went down and down, a really strange phenomenon. It was as if the bottom of the ocean did not exist. Normally, at the rim of an island, the depth would not exceed 1 kilometer. To find out this mystery, the Challenger crew added 1 more kilometer-long rope to the already dropped one and continued. Still, they were unable to feel the ocean bottom. Not to be discouraged, they continued adding ropes, lengthening it more and more. To reach the bottom, they employed 11 ropes in total, which implies the depth at that location was 11 kilometers. Later, with sound waves, it was measured to be approximately 10.994 kilometers. So deep that you could place Mount Everest upside down in this trench, and the entire mountain would be submerged underwater, while still having 1 to 2 kilometers of depth remaining. Mind-blowing, right? This lowest area, 10.994 kilometers deep, 2,550 kilometers long and 69 kilometers wide, with a nearly crescent-shaped ocean floor that is 125 kilometers wide, was given the name of Mariana Trench. Its lowest point, the Challenger Deep, was given the name after the British ship Challenger that discovered it. Fast forward to January 23, 1960, 88 years after the discovery of the Mariana Trench, when news emerged that explorer, engineer and Swiss oceanographer Jacques Piccard and US Navy Lieutenant Don Walsh would be diving down to the Challenger Deep on a mission called Project Nekton. This was a highly ambitious endeavor, considering the difficult conditions. The pressure at this depth is 1,072 times greater than average atmospheric pressure. To put that into perspective, if you were to submerge a metal brick down to this depth, it would be compressed into a thin foil when it reached the bottom due to the immense pressure. The real danger was that any part of the vessel, or the bodies of the explorers, would be flattened. His father, Auguste Piccard, had built a deep diving vessel called Trieste in the 1950s that was protected with 13-centimeter thick metal. Jacques was going to descend into the sea using this vessel. Was this actually so brilliant an idea? The Trieste had made its first dive in 1953 in the Mediterranean Sea to the record depth of just 3.15 kilometers. Although it had performed in deep-sea missions between 1953 and 1957, was it wise to subject it to a depth nearly 3 times its record? Jacques and Don were not intimidated by these concerns. They set out on the Trieste at 8:23 a.m. and began their descent. The vessel descended quickly for the first 8 kilometers at approximately 0.9 meters per second. They then slowed down to avoid colliding with any rocks. They continued descending and made contact with the ocean floor at 1:06 p.m. They spent merely 20 minutes in the darkness of the Challenger Deep before returning upward in 3.5 hours. But why the urgency to return so quickly? Did they see or feel something that put their lives at risk? Don and Jacques learned something incredible in mere minutes of being at the Challenger Deep. Vertebrate fish were unable to survive there. Using the vessel lights, they saw 2 30-centimeter-long flatfish and some shrimp survive down there. But while descending and appreciating this discovery, something happened that would have killed them. At 32,000 feet below sea level, just when the Trieste was about to kiss the bottom, they heard a faint crackling sound, and then a tremendous shockwave that rocked the entire cabin. They thought the ship had hit the bottom of the sea, but soon realized they were still quite a distance away. To investigate the source of the crackling sound, they switched off all machinery that could create such a noise. It's then that they began to hear some foreboding something, a noise like beasts, possibly shrimp, creeping across the boat. Their question was, were they just run-of-the-mill shrimp or something totally different? In order to see, Don made Jacques flip the ship's outer searchlights to try and gauge what was out there. What they witnessed was critical. Plexiglass cover of the doorway to the entry tube, the portal through which they had entered the cabin, was developing cracks and would burst into pieces at any moment. Panic-stricken over their safety, they spontaneously resolved to turn around and return to the surface. But was Don Walsh and Jacques Picard content with this straightforward explanation? Nobody can report what was on their minds, but their behavior makes one wonder that they were onto something. Even though Jacques died in 2008, Don Walsh became a central advisor to Titanic director James Cameron, who prepared a similar expedition in 2012 aboard an advanced deep-sea ship named Deep-Sea Challenger. With 50 years of technological advancements, Don hoped that this mission would finally give answers to the questions suspended in 1960. Was what they saw just a result of ocean pressure? Or was it due to a giant sea creature living at such depths? All of the scientists were on their toes, hoping for answers. History, however, repeated itself. When the Deep-Sea Challenger reached the Challenger Deep, its remote arms, which were so critical in collecting evidence, mysteriously broke down. Was it due to pressure, or was the creature below not only powerful but intelligent as well? This venture, too, did not produce simple answers. This was not the first occasion this had happened. In 2001, part of the deep-sea voyages in Germany sent out an unmanned submersible vessel called Haifisch into the Mariana Trench. At about 7 kilometers below, the vessel suddenly stopped moving, and nothing could budge it out of where the stranded crew on the surface left it. They turned its infrared lights on in an effort to go and find out why, and it was claimed they witnessed Haifisch stuck in the jaws of lizard-like creature which were attempting to chew it through. In an attempt to save the ship, the crew used an electron gun to discharge an electric charge into the sea, which shocked the animal, freeing Haifisch and fleeing into the deep ocean. This happened in 2003 with the Global Challenger. As it descended, the crew heard strange sounds via the ship's recording devices, as if something was trying to cut the metal wires holding it to the ship. When they switched their monitors to watch what was happening, they saw silhouettes of 12 to 16-meter-long creatures that resembled two-headed dragons. Being afraid they would lose their 9-meter-long robot vehicle, the crew promptly pulled it back up to the surface. When it emerged, they were shocked to find one side of the vessel crushed and the powerful cables nearly severed, as if they had been roughly torn. What do all these accounts point to? Is it possible for such creatures to exist today? Well, don't forget we're talking about the Challenger Deep, where the depth is so immense that anything seems possible. Japanese fishermen found 11,000-year-old shark teeth along the shores of the Mariana Islands that were much larger than today's shark species. One species that was 10 to 20 meters long went extinct about 2 million years ago. Even during James Cameron's voyage, he reported finding 10-centimeter-long giant amoebas, or xenophyophores. They are singular because their size and survival at such depths are not understood. Then there's the Daikoku volcano, with a molten sulfur lake in its crater that boils at 187 degrees Celsius around the clock. This is the only such volcano on Earth. The only other similar one exists on Jupiter's moon, Io. All in all, the Mariana Trench is one of the greatest miracles on this planet. Everything, living or non-living, behaves differently at these depths compared to the surface. But friends, do you believe the miracles of the Mariana Trench and its depths are true? Do these stories of creatures sound plausible to you? Or are they maybe just normal fish? Perhaps just plain sharks or other animals with overblown bites? Is all this conspiracy theories to advance some agenda?